Hello and welcome to what I hope is a very sunny Friday afternoon, wherever you are joining us. I am taking the reins today because we've got a really fun feature. I am joined today by three heroes, to not use the word lightly, who have been nominated for Accounting Personality of the Year at the PQ Awards. So those are awards announced by PQ Magazine, which stands for Part Qualified Magazine. Officially, they are awards for those individuals who are part of the accountancy world, people who are part qualified on their way to becoming accountants, or people who are supporting those individuals. Now, of course, ICB, if you've been reading your newsletters, has managed to get away with 11 nominations for ICB itself and also our members. So it's a very exciting moment for us to be recognised at this sort of traditionally accountancy platform. So I will, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our three guests today. Ladies first, we've got Louise Ball. Thank you for joining us, Louise.
Hi, thank you.
Louise has not only managed to be running a business during your first year of practice, or you were last year, you've been raising a young family, and you've also been on the front line of vaccinating the UK population. Is that right?
Kind of. I wouldn't quite say it's front line, but I have been helping with the vaccinations.
So going back into nursing to help with vaccinating the public. So just absolutely incredible. And also nominated is Dr. Philip Dunn, who's been on the ICB board since 2011 and is absolutely a stalwart of the accountancy education sector. Philip, thank you ever so much for joining us. You're in Whitby, is that right?
I am, yes, here on the northeast coast, where it's very, very sunny, but still quite cool.
Oh, good. Yes, I don't want to be made jealous by it being too warm up there. So Philip, you were actually on the AAT Council for 25 years. Is that correct?
No. I was a council member of AAT from its inception until 1996.
Right. How many years is that?
At which time I actually was time barred, because they introduced a scheme whereby, well, once the thing was rolling, they introduced a scheme where when you'd done 9 years end on, then you were time barred.
Wow. Okay. So well established you were time barred from the AAT Council. I love that. Very much interested in educating within the accountancy world. Also interested in educating young people as well. We will talk about that a bit more later. And of course, last but not least, we've got Gary Carter himself. Hello, Gary. You're joining us from a car.
Yes, I am. A bit of bad timing on my part, I'm afraid. It's a good job that you are there anyway, anchoring today. A while back, I did a presentation on Friday from the fleet services going north when I was on my way on a brief holiday. Actually, no, it wasn't a holiday. I think we were going to do the Inspire tour. Anyway, for some reason, we could do it nowhere else but there. And coincidentally, I am on the other side of the motorway, the M3 motorway at the moment at Fleet South, just because there was a delay on the motorway and I haven't quite made it back to my studio down in Romsey. But so I'm very pleased to be here and crossing my fingers that everything continues to work as these huge lorries and everything else go hurtling past. But yeah, nice to be here and nice to be in such wonderful company. I mean, you know, I'm not sure how I make it, but still.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know Gary Carter, although I'm sure you do, Gary Carter, when he set up ICB with his wife, June, 25 years ago this November, very much had a vision that bookkeeping should be recognized as a profession in and of itself. And really that he was going to emancipate, if you will, bookkeepers from being the also-ran to our great friends, the chartered accountants. Gary, can we read something into the fact that ICB and its members have received so many nominations in an award show that primarily is for people who are trying to become accountants? What does that mean to you?
Well, it's certainly a sort of recognition. It has to be that we've been included so many times now in things there, but now this year getting our first set of real awards. I think it's because there is a lot more choice in the profession at the moment. So some people are feeling that becoming bookkeepers is right for them. But I think also it's recognition that throughout this very strange and sometimes terrible last 18 months that we've gone through, we've continued to fly the flag. Nobody has been robbed of their future by virtue of the fact that we've always had exams available. They've been available 24/7. We were the first organisation to do proctored exams, which is where people take their exams at home, but just to prove that everything is above board and nobody's cheating, they're actually monitored through their screen and through their mobile phone, which they held onto one side. And I think that's very important. So many people have had to wait for 18 months for their profession to open up again. And that wasn't the case with us. So one of the awards that we're up for is actually for our proctoring exam scheme. And it's an absolute world beater. And I'm so proud of everybody in the learning team that actually put that together and got it going, and including the likes of yourself who managed to promote it and get it up and out there. It's just unbelievable.
We were very proud of ourselves, weren't we? So yes, talking a bit about the categories that we're nominated for, obviously remote proctoring. So we have always set about to have a very accessible qualification framework here at ICB. And I think that's part of the reason we have tended to appeal to people who, for whatever reason, just don't have the time commitment that it is required to take some of the other exam bodies exams. So all of our exams at this point are available on demand 24/7. And what we did at the start of the COVID lockdown, obviously, was move our centre-based exams into a remote proctored, as they call it, situation where you can take your exam at home, but you are watched by Big Brother through various different cameras and things like that. But quite a complex system that we were able to roll out quite quickly. So Louise, you perhaps kind of missed that a little bit because you'd already qualified by that point, but you did manage to qualify within a year. Is that right? That was quite quick.
I can't quite remember the timescale now. It's all a bit of a blur trying to get through everything, but I did my level 2 and level 3. Probably in a year to get my practice license.
And what was your story? When did you decide to become a bookkeeper? Because you were a nurse before that.
Yeah, so I was on maternity leave with my second child, and that was definitely going to be my last baby. So I started to sort of think about what did I want from my future. There was a policy at the trust I was working at that you couldn't be promoted unless you would work full-time hours, and obviously that wasn't on my roadmap. I had held a higher position before, but changed things around to new specialities. So I just started thinking about what else could I do? What would I like? What would I enjoy? What could I excel in? And just started internet search after internet search to find a new career. And then I discovered Ideal Schools. We're doing bookkeeping qualifications. And the more I read into that, I looked, actually, yes, you could still be a licensed professional. You could be with a certified body. So that really appealed to me, going from being a professional. And that's when, I found the ICB and signed up.
So it seems like, Gary, you did do a good job there, well and truly putting bookkeeping on the map as a profession. How critical was that in the beginning? And I know we also weren't an institute initially, were we?
Yeah, I mean, we were an institute, but of bookkeepers, and then we became certified within a couple of months because we worked very closely with the government departments at the time. We were very pleased that we were recognised in bookkeepers, and so they suggested to us we should be certified, and we didn't take that as an insult. We did that immediately. We became the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers. The Institute of Bookkeepers has actually been around since 1918, I think it was originally registered, and then it sort of fell into disrepair, as I suppose they call it, because everybody shut off and decided they wanted to become accountants instead of bookkeepers. But we felt that it was very important. They are different. They do a different job. They have a completely different approach to what they do, and they needed to be professional. And I like to think we played a major part in that. I'm not sure where the bookkeeping profession would have been if we hadn't been here. So I'm hoping that goes on my tomb one day. But I'm very pleased with what we've done. But at the end of the day, the people that have actually made the bookkeepers professional are the bookkeepers themselves, because they are absolute gluttons for punishment. Whatever we throw at them, however hard we make our exams, however high we make the pass mark, they just keep trying that much harder and becoming professional bookkeepers. So they deserve the title of a professional person, because we put them through a lot of hoops, and the good ones who get out at the other end are damn good bookkeepers, and they deserve all they've got. And it's just a reflection, I think, of the people that we get. And if you look at Louise, which, by the way, Louise, fantastic, and I'm not sure why I'm on anywhere near the same platform as you are for what you've been up to. But this is our member time and time again. They want something which is meaningful, that they can enjoy, that they can adapt around their new environment, whether that's children or redundancy or whatever it might be. And bookkeeping just ticks all of those boxes. And it really is important to them, but it's also really important to the clients that they serve. I mean, we've got over 100,000 clients now on our system that our members service. And those small and medium-sized businesses, micro businesses, need somebody to do the bits of stuff that they don't understand, get wrong, and at the end of the day are wasting their time doing, when they could be selling something or making something that makes them a lot more money, gives them a lot more satisfaction, and builds their business. And we're constantly building businesses, and I think that was one of the headlines that we put on the front of the QE2 building one year on our summit: bookkeepers building business. And it was building their own businesses, but very much building everybody else's business too.
Well, I think the word is certainly getting out there, and we actually spoke about this a little bit at the Bookkeepers Summit last year. I believe it was 2018 was the first year that the bookkeeping subsector of the accountancy sector actually grew faster than the accountancy subsector. So there's certainly big demand out there for bookkeepers, and big demand for people who are choosing this profession and want to set up their own business. Philip, I spoke to a lady this morning who was actually choosing to join ICB. She is an ACCA fellow, and she said that she's choosing to give up her fellowship of ACCA to get an ICB practice license, because she feels like it's more of a perfect fit for the kind of services and the businesses she wants to work with. Do you think there's something specific about the ICB education pathway and our qualification that makes it more appealing to some people?
Partly. I think that the problem with, or one of the problems with the major chartered bodies, to use the term chartered, is that many of the provincial practitioners find that they're not being supported in the same way as they were some years ago. And that will probably be one of the reasons why this person actually, is thinking about coming along to us. Not only that, I would also think that the fee structure may well be totally different as well. The other, perhaps not a problem, but a feature of ACCA, it has become basically a global body with 250, 300,000 students worldwide. Some of them will never ever qualify, and if it was a university, they'd have shut them down. So there are factors here. I mean, I've actually had chats with guys who are members of the ICAEW who went along and joined somebody in the south of England, I think, some practicing accountants body, because they were fed up with the Chartered Institute. So perhaps this person is looking for belonging to obviously a smaller entity that will be more caring.
And caring we think. Louise, do you find that ICB offers you that sort of, support that you need in running your own business? Because you've been running a business for a year now, haven't you? Presumably that is relatively isolating, I would think.
Yes, yeah. I do have a nice little network of bookkeepers around me, but it's the professional advice. You've got a VAT question and you can't spend all day waiting for HMRC to answer the chat box. They've been so helpful, just ringing up and, you know, straight away really eager to answer my queries, not, you know, certainly not thinking I'm silly for not knowing the answer. It's just really, really helpful, definitely.
Oh, that's good. And so how's it going? So sort of 1 year into your business, is it kind of ticking along nicely? Has it surprised you in any ways?
Yes, it's massively surprised me, because this time last year I had 2 very small clients, and I sort of spent a lot of time just, you know, searching around the internet trying to find ways to sort of improve my business and find clients, and now I'm really busy. I'm getting constant enquiries, possibly verging on getting onto capacity with my work. It was always supposed to just be a little sideline, not a little sideline, but something that would build slowly over time. And it seems to have happened in the last 12 months that it's grown quite quickly. And unfortunately, it's meant, because I'm so busy with client work, and obviously that comes first, I've not been as far on in my studies. So I've still got some studying to do with ICB, still got some exams to pass, but I think I'll have to wait for a little bit longer.
Right. Well, and again, I suppose it is something that is relatively unique to ICB, as far as I'm aware. We enable bookkeepers to start their business, and then you can kind of choose to do what we would call advanced work, such as tax and self-assessment tax and final accounts. Philip, how long does it take to qualify as a chartered accountant, and how much of what it means to be a chartered accountant is what the end business owner needs?
Well, the chartered accountancy routes now, and we're not just talking about the ICAEW here, we're talking about ACCA, we're talking about CIMA, we're also talking about CIPFA, because there are the 4, in fact, there's also the Scottish Institute.
The ICAS.
But looking at ICAEW, what they've done very recently, they've introduced a first level called a Certificate in Business and Administration, which is their first 7 subjects. So if a person actually decided to do that route, at the end of it, they would get a certificate. The next level up is certified as well, and then the final level becomes a chartered level. Same with CIMA. So what they've done, they've split their qualifications into certain sections, whereby students can drop on and drop off at whichever level they want. Now, to answer the question, well, how long does it take? I mean, the ICAEW mainly take graduates in at the age of 21, 22, and put them through a series of training. And the guys that go through it very quickly probably take another 2 years after that. ACCA, as you probably are aware, have a link with Oxford Brookes University, whereby the first 9 papers that ACCA set and students pass, they can then do a 5,000 word project to get a degree. So lots of things are changing. But I'd like to go back to when you started earlier on, when you talked about the bookkeeper and the accountant. I perceive bookkeepers to be the bedrock of the accountancy profession. I think they are an integral part of the accountancy profession. And I also believe that PQ recognises that, in that a number of articles that have been written for PQ right across the board actually have included subjects for example, the assistant accountant apprenticeship, of which we're part of. And again, there are two separate streams, I think, within the ICB. Indeed, we have the very successful practicing members, but we also have some that work in perhaps local authorities, health authorities, NHS and so on, and public sector, where, again, I think they are information providers, and the accountants in those sectors are decision makers, and that's what they ought to get on with. And that's what makes the bookkeeper so important.
I wonder, don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Gary. That seems very much what we think in ICB. And actually, there were a few articles in our recent newsletter just talking to members about how they manage that relationship with accountants. And it seems very much like those bonds are only getting stronger.
Yes, for most of our members, I would suggest they have a relationship with at least one firm of accountants. And sometimes they will take on a small business that grows and they need an accountant, so they become the dating agency for a firm of accountants. Sometimes it's the other way around. The accountant realizes that the companies that they're dealing with need more day-to-day help rather than quarterly or annual help, so they will work with a good bookkeeper. And obviously ICB now is generally regarded as the best qualification to have, so therefore it's a good bet that if you get an ICB bookkeeper, things will work well. And I think, I think the world is changing dramatically. I do think that accountants are starting to concentrate more on perhaps the middle-sized companies, and therefore the smaller and micro-sized companies are finding that working with a bookkeeper is their natural route, and that I think works well. And if you look at the number of companies in this country, 5.5 million, just over 5 million of them are actually small or micro, so it's a good market to be in. And but it has to be one of collaboration. We're certainly not here saying that just because we've got a few PQ awards that now we are the world's next accountants. We're not, but we are bookkeepers. We remain bookkeepers. It is a different way of doing things. And likewise, therefore, I think that's why ICB is a little different perhaps to some of the other bodies, because it is a different market and we're dealing with different people. And, we have mirror images of Louise right the way around the world. We're in 142 countries, some very small numbers, but in some countries like Australia, New Zealand, and bits of North America and the Philippines, what have you, we've got quite high numbers. But actually everybody looks the same. And it's very much this point in a person's life when they decide they've got something big to offer. And bookkeeping just hits them at the right time. So I'm really proud to be the president and co-founder of such a wonderful organisation. But I am quaking in my boots a little bit about the PQ Awards because, as you said before, we now have 11 nominations. Well, the last organisation to get 11 nominations, it was actually for the film The Colour Purple in the Oscars, and it went away with none. So we've got to start winning some. But really, I think what worries me most is that Louise's practice is called Practice 11, and she lives at number 11. So I think there's probably a little bit of pre-warning there. I'm not sure I need to bother turning up, but anyway, both deserve it. I mean, Louise, as we've said, has done wonderful things, and throughout COVID, coping with everything that she was doing, running a business, and going back and helping give people an injection is wonderful. I've had my first, and the team there were absolutely fantastic. Apart, as I said on ICB TV once before, the people who were directing me around the car park directed me so well that I left the car park before I went and got my jab because they took me out again. Anyway, I will ignore that one. And Philip, of course, because Philip's been on our board for a long time. He was invited onto the board because, I've known Philip in other walks of life, other organisations I've worked for, always respected him. He's been a very helpful advocate on the board to me because I'm not an accountant, and our finance director does speak a completely different language. And Philip has always been very good at analysing things for me. And on a number of occasions, I've actually rung him up and asked for a bit of personal advice. I suppose one would call it mentoring, and he's always been there for me. So I'm very pleased that he's up there, and I'm very keen. I'm very pleased to be standing behind these two, pushing them forward. But there are other nominations, of course. We haven't got it completely buttoned down by ICB, so we could all be commiserating with each other next weekend anyway. But let's have our fingers crossed that one of the two of you get something.
At least we've received the goodie box.
Yes, good. Some people haven't, apparently. It's quite a nice little goodie box, and Yeah, it's something that we did, of course, or actually Amy organised with our conference and with our summit, with our Inspire Tour. We have to make the best of what we've got, and I think the fact is that ICB members took to technology very, very early on because of the sort of life that they lead, the work that they do with their clients, and that really fell into their laps. And technology is great. We have to use it. We have to adapt to it. And without technology, somebody would be looking at a blank screen saying, "Well, we think Gary Carter's in the room somewhere, but we can't find him at the moment." Whereas I could sit in a car park miles away from anywhere and just say, "Hi, hello, and I'm pleased to be with you." So, I keep saying this, but well done to all our members, really, who've done an absolutely fantastic job, and they deserve everything that they get.
Can we all, well, I feel like we're all getting quite emotional here. Just also to say congratulations to Kathy Wright, who is one of our members, but she's been nominated as PQ of the Year. And also Kalkadan Wadajo, who's also a member now. Both of them are running practices, but he's been nominated as Distance Learning Student of the Year. So we've got Gary, Philip, Louise also up as Accountancy Personality of the Year. Jo Wood from Jo Wood Virtual FD, and obviously one of our fellows, and she's been nominated as Accountancy Team of the Year, sorry. And we've got one of our training providers has received lots of nominations, including for Bev Roberts, who's up for private sector tutor. And
that's Training Link, yeah.
For Training Link, and the Bookkeepers podcast is up for Innovation in Accountancy, alongside 2 nominations for ICB itself, one for one for the Bookkeepers Summit and one for ICB TV. And then Remote Invigilation got the final nomination, so we are doing very well. But I think very much what you were saying about the sort of the adoption of digital technology is probably part and parcel of this sort of steamrollering success, what we would call of bookkeepers of late, and bookkeeping is absolutely being transformed by tech recently. Louise, do you sometimes feel like your clients expect you to be able to advise them on tech and help them be to sort of embrace change in that way?
Yeah, I think a lot of them like the fact that it's a reason that they want to have a bookkeeper, is because they're scared of tech. They don't want to be able to manage it. They're not sure what to do, and they know that they can come to us for advice and find the best things on the market for them. It's definitely, I built my practice through the pandemic, through the lockdown. It's all my clients have come from lockdown, so it's all been done virtually. I'm used to staying in this corner of my room for the last 12 months.
So where did you actually pick up your clients? Did they find you, or did you find them?
It's so varied. Literally, I've got 15 clients from all different industries, and I found them all in all different places. There's been Facebook jobs. There was a networking meeting I attended pre-COVID, but then she got back in touch with me during COVID. There's been online networking, and then I think for my community work that I've been doing for the last 12 months as well, people have got in touch with me that way as well.
And where did you actually pick up your first bookkeeping job?
My first, my actual job when I was working in someone else's practice. So I went to the first Bookkeeper Summit 2018 when I was a student. It was a last minute decision. Went down there, having some lovely food at the Edwardian Radisson and Blue, and just got talking to somebody who was at the conference. As explaining where I was at, and she just said, I'm always looking for new bookkeepers. I own a practice. You wouldn't happen to live anywhere near Cheshire, would you? Which was hilarious because I live in Stockport. So I was 20 minutes away from their practice, but we met in Heathrow. We exchanged numbers, we got chatting, and they employed me.
That's incredible. So it does go to show, do connect with other members through the branches and through the summit. And we do have, plans are underway for a sort of mid-year event coming up soon. So if you go to any of your branch meetings, do please speak to your chair, because we've tasked them with finding out more information about what we can do to make that event really special for you. You know, so now that you're kind of getting up to capacity already within sort of about a year of starting your business, what's the next step? Are you going to kind of specialize? Are you going to expand? Are you going to cut back your hours, spend more time with the kids?
I know it's getting to that point where I don't want to give my clients less of a service by getting too busy. I want them to still have the same quality. So I'm starting to think about, I'm looking to outsource to a fellow bookkeeper at the moment, so I can figure out how it would work if I did take on an employee. I'm moving into an office next week to try and get a little bit of movement, a bit of a sort of, not just stuck in this room and not just stuck being a family, working from home all the time. So that's nice, and that's in the hope that I can get somebody maybe who needs a bit of support, or somebody who's new to bookkeeping as well. And hopefully grow. It was never in my initial plans, but it feels like it's the right direction to go in now. And
what are the next exams you were hoping to do? You said you were still studying.
Yes, I've got self-assessment, taxation, payroll to tackle.
Just those little things.
Yeah.
I've been doing maths and coding with a 5-year-old for the past 12 months that I've had to put my studies to one side.
Yeah, I've been learning a lot about phonics, which I never knew, like split diagraphs. We didn't have that in my day. You were going to ask me something, Gary?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, it's lovely listening to Louise talking about the way that her practice is evolving, because we are finding that. But something that I've noticed over recent years is the different demands from clients, because I think when we first started, we wanted to try and get the unrecognizable bookkeeper out of the dark corners of the room. I think I remember saying very early on in our first couple of years of running ICB. What I'm finding now is that people sort of understand more about what a bookkeeper does, so that's great, but they actually want another level of sophistication. They want somebody that's actually going to help them with their business, not just get them out of trouble with the VAT or the tax. And I many years ago, we've been around for 25 years coming up, but 20 odd years ago, when we were first doing branch meetings and traveling around the country, I said that, your clients will come to you when they get a red letter from the taxman, or they get a red letter because their VAT's overdue, and everybody used to nod. It's different now, and this is why, looking at somebody like Louise, who's obviously moving into an office, she's got a very professional background, so she's used to working hard, she's used to providing top-level service. I think this is becoming even more necessary for a bookkeeper, so that the qualifications and understanding what those qualifications are about, doing a good bookkeeping job is still paramount. It's still the main part of what they do. But I think people more and more want a better explanation of what on earth it is their business is doing. Because quite often a person will be working in a small business and it bears no relation to what they see in a set of accounts, because they can't understand what it means. And I mean, we've said so many times that too many businesses think that money in the bank means profit, and obviously it doesn't, and all this sort of stuff. And as long as there's no brackets around anything, it means I'm making money. It's gone way beyond that. So I think small businesses are demanding more, and our members are absolutely fitting that bill. And they're doing it in such a way that they are instilling confidence in the small businesses. And that's then coming back to them from the praise they're getting from their small businesses, is instilling them with the confidence to go forward and be even bigger and better bookkeepers. I mean, it's what we dreamed of 25 years ago, and it really is happening. It's wonderful.
Can I just add in on there, please? I think the other thing we also ought to be very aware of is at what point one of our members, would they sort of go beyond their level of competence. For example, with micro businesses, for example, FRS 105, there are embedded in 105 a number of previous accounting standards. Now, it's all right sort of putting the information in, getting a set of accounts out, but do they really understand why we valued the stock or the inventory in a certain way? And the answer to that is, well, the section within 105 is based on IAS 2, which is valuation of inventories, where it should be valued at the lower of cost or net realizable value. So, you know, I'm an advocate for our members doing this work, but I think also there is a level at which they must not exceed.
And how rare is it in our profession for an examining body to have a pass mark of over 85%, as we do in those sort of level 4 papers? I think, is it self-assessment tax as a 90% pass mark? Is that quite rare, Philip?
Well, you know, if you can get out of information out of the major bodies, the chartered bodies and AAT, at what level they're passing people, then you're a better man than me, Gungadin.
I understood that with ICAW and ACCA, generally the pass mark is about 50 or 55%.
Well, I believe they still maintain, they'll graph the results, and it'll skew to a certain level, and that's the cutoff point. I don't believe that they have a certain percentage pass level. I believe that they're only going to let so many through per year, and it depends on the standard of the exam that year. I mean, sometimes you can get rogue questions, other times papers can look easier than they did before.
Well, I think it is worth...
Mind you, I've quoted myself worldwide there. I better be very careful.
We are going out live. Well, I just thought it is worth mentioning that even though ICB's qualification is designed to be very accessible and available to people who are, you know, vaccinating the public, raising a family, etc., and you can do your exams 24/7, and we do have incredibly high pass marks, which I think are unparalleled across the rest of the profession. Gary, was it always important to you to have incredibly high standards, even though there's quite a low bar to entry?
Yes, we decided very early on that we had to be different if we wanted to become a profession and not be regarded as a trade. And the only way to do that was to have the best bookkeepers. And we don't do it just to be bloody minded. I mean, I think you've got to bear in mind that somebody that takes the ACCA exams or ICAW has to go through an apprenticeship or a tutelage with a big firm, and they have to sign up. So they might only know 50% of it then, but they will be working with their peers who will round off all the corners, and I think make them into, you know, over time, make them into proper accountants that we can trust. With bookkeepers, it's different. And ICB bookkeepers, the minute they get their qualification, they want to start their business in general. I mean, that's what the majority of them want to do. So we're putting them out on the streets with our name behind them. So we have to make sure that they are right almost all of the time. I mean, to be honest with you, we had the tax exam at 95%, and I said, well, why 95? Why can't we make it 100? And I was told, well, that's not really fair. I said, yeah, no, but it's not really fair if we're wrong 5% of the time. And every time somebody would come back and say, yes, but if I was doing the chartered exam, I could get it right half of the time and still pass. And again, I use that analogy. What we are finding is we're now moving more into apprenticeships, which are attracting slightly younger people who are working inside a business. And that's working well. And in fact, I was absolutely amazed recently that we were judged by our governing body, if you like, the Institute for Accountants. And we were given an outstanding for our endpoint assessments, endpoint assessment being the posh name for an exam, I suppose. But and so we're broadening our appeal as ICB. We're going far more now into people who are employed. It's not just those people who want to run their own business. And trying to persuade authorities to let us still have a high pass mark is actually sometimes different, because I think they're a bit worried that too many people will fail. But if you're a small business person and somebody walks through your door and says, I'm a bookkeeper, I'm qualified, you want to know that there's more than a 50-50 chance of them getting it right. you want to know that they are totally competent in what they do, and that they have high standards, they have professional indemnity insurance, that they have support if they need it. As Louise said, sometimes HMRC, I mean, they've been wonderful through COVID. Don't let's take anything away from them, but sometimes they're a bit busy. And, we do our best to give as much advice and guidance as we can. I have, obviously COVID has upped the amount of the number of questions that we've been asked. So there have been occasions when we have fallen down a little bit in answering all the questions. I mean, I can't get away from that because, so many members want us just to reassure them. Most people who come on for technical advice actually have already got it right, but they want somebody to say, yeah, absolutely, and tell them that that's the way ahead. And so, we are there as often as we can be and provide people with as much as we possibly can. We're thinking about new things on a day basis. I mean, you run the marketing and communications department. It's a constant thing. What else can we give them next month, or what else can we give them next year? And it's not like a sales product, but we're trying to make sure that their clothes are even whiter this year using our soap powder, if you like. But you never stop. It never stops, and it must never stop. We've got to keep moving forward.
I think that's absolutely right, and the profession absolutely is constantly moving forward. Just to say that Graham on the chat has corroborated my my suggestion that ACCA's pass mark was as low as 50%. Apparently that is correct. I presume that's not Graham Hambley who's in charge of the PQ Awards, but if it is, please look favourably on us next week at the awards. Philip Dunn, as an accountancy personality nominee of the year, what do you think ICB can do to continue to support the accounting professionals of the future?
Well, the ICB's strategy and role, as far as I'm concerned, is to provide competence at a high level. I view our more senior members as advanced accounting practitioners, actually, as well as certified bookkeepers, because that's what they are. And the more we can do in terms of maintaining the standard of the examinations and maintaining the standard of the supervision, will give the accounting profession more confidence in sort of being involved with our people, or in fact either employing them or sort of working alongside them. And the other one, another strand to all this that I've always thought very deeply about is, we talk about the number of our qualified members who move into practice, for example, like Louise. But what about the big wide world out there, the public sector, SMEs, and the rest? I believe that within 10 years, we shall probably have as many qualified members working there as well. And going back to what I said earlier, that say within the public sector, the bookkeeper would be the information provider and the accountant the decision maker. So I think there is an opportunity also, for these, particularly perhaps through the assistant accountant apprenticeship, or the bookkeeping apprenticeship, as that starts to really take off, and we can get them out there. That would be my vision for the next 10 years.
Well, I thank you for that. I couldn't agree more. I think perhaps the term bookkeeper in itself might be slightly misleading, and perhaps, there aren't so many people employed somewhere known as a bookkeeper, but maybe we could change that. But certainly, yes, the system information, the provider of information, the implementer of the system, because a lot of the work that bookkeepers do, I think, is getting businesses up and running and systematizing their processes so that they can become more efficient, they can understand the path they're on, and absolutely be at the very the very epicenter of the financial information for a business. Louise, accountancy.
Amy,
Sorry.
I'm terribly sorry to interrupt you in your flow. I've just cut my screen, as you just saw. I've had a very nice gentleman who just tapped on my window and told me I must move on. So unfortunately, I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave this wonderful group of people. Can I just finish by saying I wish Philip and Louise the very best in the competition, but you both are very deserving of the award. Whoever wins, it will be extra recognition for bookkeepers, even if we're only we have brackets nominated on our CVs in future. It's good to be there. It's good to be in the mix with everybody else. And it's because of people like Louise and Philip and yourself, obviously, that we are becoming elevated to many different and wonderful opportunities for everybody. So I'm very pleased about that. And so, just have a great time. Enjoy your goodie box. Those of you who haven't already started it. And thank you very much for sitting in for me today and giving me this opportunity to answer questions instead of ask them. And great. So thank you both. And thank you, Amy. I'm sorry I have to go, but I'm going to get a clamp if I don't, apparently. So I do not want to be clamped, but thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Let the best personality win, I will say. I will just confirm that it is Graham Hambley is watching here, and he's the founder of PQ magazine and probably knows exactly who's going to win on the night. And you watching at home, you can also tune in for the PQ Awards. If nothing else, we are really good at Zooming these days, aren't we? So you can watch the PQ Awards live online and find out who wins. Just to sort of sum up, I wanted to ask Louise, obviously you've been nominated as an Accountancy Personality of the Year in a profession that you've been in for less than 2 years, if I'm about right there. How does that feel to have made that transition so quickly and obviously so with such impact? And how do you feel about your future in this profession?
It's been such a whirlwind. Obviously, the last 12 months has been a whirlwind for everybody with the ever-changing situation. So I'm still trying to get my head around it, to be honest. I'm absolutely blown away that PQ Awards even considered my nomination, let alone shortlisting me. So, I still can't come to terms with it all. Sorry, I forgot the second part of the question.
So do you think now that you are, are you firmly embedded in the accountancy profession? Are you going to be a bookkeeper now forever, do you think, or have you got other plans coming up?
No, I think this is definitely my place. It's definitely where I belong. I've got a great network of bookkeeper support. I've made some great accountant connections. You were talking before about that importance of having those, and I do refer out to accountants, and I do receive referrals from accountants as well. So it is teamwork, isn't it? Even though I do work for myself, it is teamwork with the accountancy professionals.
It absolutely is. And how has it impacted your life? Obviously, you moved because, as many bookkeepers find, you can't, once you've had your parental leave, it's difficult to get a level of seniority that you want, or it's difficult to get a pay rise or a promotion if you're not working full time. What has bookkeeping enabled you to do that you couldn't have done in your past work?
Simple things as going to my child's nativity without having to book a day off work, because you wouldn't be able to have that flexibility of finishing your shift earlier and being a nurse. I've got a higher income now than I had before. Which is obviously
boo for nurses, of course. More we can do there.
And it is that flexibility. It's that obviously you've got more responsibility, and it does sometimes mean you have to work at night, whereas you wouldn't have had to have that responsibility before to catch up. But it's that opportunity of being there for your kids if they do need you. It's really helped massively.
Fantastic. And then just to sort of finish up with Dr. Philip Dunn, I know that you believe very strongly in education. I know you've also been fundraising with your local cricket club and their foundation to help education for young people. How important is it that we keep making sure that we educate our young people and our mature people?
Well, I mean, the basis of education is to do with life. I can remember a few years ago giving an after dinner speech, and it was to do with the training, the year of the training. I can't quite remember what year it was. And the quote went, "When planning a harvest, plant corn. When planning a decade, plant trees. When planning a life, train and educate." And that's how important it is. But I'd also like to say that this last year has been my 50th year in education.
Wow.
In that I entered academia at the age of 25, and I gave up my work with Hull University and Scarborough Business School 3 days a week when I was 65. And in the past 11 years, I've continued to be involved, obviously, with the ICB, but with other things as well. One of which, if you look at PQ magazine, the test bank is my baby, along with the study zone. And within that area there's learning materials for our people. And that's, and I'll continue doing that. So that's more or less it, really. We must carry on.
We must carry on. Well, thank you very much for your 50 years of contribution to.
And that's twice the 25 years of ICB.
There we go. And you have left a very strong mark on ICB, absolutely. And what a contribution. So Dr. Philip Dunn, having been in accountancy for 50 years, Louise, 2 years fresh, both of you making a huge and profound contribution to the profession that has absolutely done ICB proud, and is exactly the reason why ICB was founded all of 25 years ago. So long may it continue. Good luck on the night. And if you're watching at home, don't forget you can join in next Thursday, the 29th of April for the PQ Awards, and just very, very good luck to both of you.
Thank you, Amy.
All the best.
Thanks very much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye now.